Have you ever heard of Andalusite? Probably not, and you're not the only one. It is one of the most uncommon gemstones and underrated in my opinion. It is a stone that has pleochroic properties, and as you can see, it ranges, from greens, browns, reds, all within the same gemstone. Hey guys, my name is Dominic Flex. I'm a custom jewelry designer, and we recently did an entire collection on Andalusite, which kind of sparked my inspiration for this video because I wanted to kind of show you guys what it actually is. It's so uncommon, yet so beautiful, and it looks perfect for fall. We set all the jewels in yellow gold, and the stone, everyone's gonna ask you what it is. Nobody's gonna know what it is. It's so uncommon, but so unique. So let's break it down. All right, so the very first thing that you guys always wanna know is the prices. It is not an expensive gemstone. It's not as there's these kind of tiers that we go into. There's topaz, citrine, peridot, amethyst, garnets. Those are kind of the very, very bottom of the food chain. Those are really inexpensive stones. These are kind of above it, but they're not as expensive as spinel, for example. They're kind of in that little buffer range. You can easily find good quality stones for the $300 to $600 range a carat. Obviously, the lower you go, the lower the quality is going to be, so you can definitely find some at $200, but I would tell you to stay around the $400 to $500 carat range if you want something decent. Most of the common things that I'll see is it is a stone that is mined, but a lot of it is very opaque, and so finding that very translucent, higher quality that you want for gemstones is harder to find. And so once you start going into that poorer quality, your stone's going to become more opaque. There's very commonly rutile needles. It has veils in it, so there's kind of lines of almost bubbles throughout the stone. These are all things that are very common in them. I would say that it's even a stone that you have to be prepared to not have that perfect clarity, because the rutile needles, even in the higher quality, are quite present. Andalusites are not commonly treated. They don't commonly have heat treatments, and so the stone that you're getting is what you're getting. It's naturally occurred this way. And so there is not really a way to kind of enhance those imperfections. Even the stones that you'll see up close that we have, they just naturally have more rutile needles, and I don't think that you should look away from the stone because of it. Yes, it has more than, let's say, topaz, amethyst, or any other stones that have very, very high clarity, but it's just what it is. So I don't know. This is a stone that has a hardness of about 6.5 to 7.5, which makes it a tiny bit soft, but it's still okay for rings. Maybe not necessarily an engagement ring where you wear it every day, but it's still okay. You just kind of want to design your ring in consequence to protect the center stone. That being said, it is a stone that's brittle, because when we're talking about the hardness of the Mohs scale, we're talking about how hard is it to scratch the stone. But scratching the stone and a point of impact is not the same thing. You can have a diamond, which is a 10 on 10 on Mohs scale, and a sapphire, which is a 9.5 on 10. It is easier to crack a diamond than it is to crack a sapphire. It is harder to scratch a diamond than it is to scratch a sapphire, right? And so there's different kinds of hardnesses, if you will. This is the same thing for Andalusite. It is easy to crack. And so if you were to hit it right on the girdle, for example, you could crack your stone in two. And that's kind of what I'm referring to as it being a brittle stone. This is why it can also be a good thing to, avoid certain shapes. Andalusite generally anyways comes in very elongated options, ovals, elongated cushions, marquise cuts. The reason why is actually because the lapidary artist, so the stone cutter, is going to cut the stone to give it its most beautiful aesthetic. The most beautiful option for this type is when you see, the three ranges of color within a stone, preferably lighter in the middle and then darker as you go out. So the stone cutter is going to cut in that way, which is often making the stones very elongated. That's why it's easier to find these options. But I also kind of recommend, when you're looking at cuts, to find something that has rounded corners, whether it's a round stone, whether it's, a cushion, elongated cushion. These are going to be harder to crack, right? If you have a princess cut with very pointy corners, that is going to be so easy to crack, and that's obviously not what you want. And so for this gem, I would definitely recommend, more rounded corners. there is always a possibility of, you know, setting your stone in a bezel, but that can affect the color play. So if your stone is set in a bezel, yes, it looks beautiful, but you do want to make sure that there's a big enough opening underneath the stone, because if you're wrapping your stone in metal, it's going to make it darker, less light is going to go through, which means that it can affect the color play, right? You might not see as wide of a range of color within the stone because it's less light. You always want to kind of play around with different options when you're designing your ring. Obviously, you can always ask us, and you know, we're trained in this, so we can give you a professional opinion, you know, what we think is best, semi-bezel, full bezel, set lower to the finger. There's different possibilities, so don't worry about it, but just ask us. In terms of synthetics, there aren't too many synthetics. I feel like when there's a will, there's a way, but I feel like it's just a gemstone that's not commonly known. And oftentimes, you know, if they wanted to, they could potentially cut tourmaline, which has some similar properties, but again, tourmaline is generally going to cost more than Andalusite, so I don't see why they would ever do that. So some people have said that, but I don't really feel like it applies. So that is why there's not that many imitations. There's not really any synthetics. The pleochroic properties of this stone are hard to imitate. So in terms of like synthetics, you don't really have to worry about it. And it's also not a stone, you know, that gets very expensive for a long time. I think once you hit, again, over 5 carat to 10 carat, like that range, you're going to see the prices jump quite significantly, because it's harder to find it not opaque. It's harder to find it in good enough quality. Like a lot of the times they use this, I think, in making bricks, in ovens. They grind up the stone and they use it in more of like construction materials than they actually do for jewelry. One of the main things I would say, if you're looking for a custom Andalusite piece, always give yourself a little bit of a buffer of time to source the stones, because it's not a common gemstone. And so, you know, if you ask us, oh, I want a 5 carat cushion, like we can definitely find it for you, but we might need like an additional week, for example, in order to import it. What I really want to know is what you guys think. It's such an uncommon stone. Have you guys ever seen this before? What do you guys think? I absolutely love it. I love it for fall. I'm wearing them right now. Yeah, I just think it's so cool, and nobody really knows what it is, so I get a lot of questions. But yeah, let me know if you guys are looking to create a custom piece or like to shop our latest collection. The links are down below. If not, we do have short form content on our TikTok, so you can always jump onto our TikTok if you want to join the community, learn more like fast, fun, educational content. And yeah, my name is Dominic Flux. Thanks for watching, and bye.